Hold on, lock in. Lock in! Lock in! Lock in! Hold on. Alright, this is Yoshi P. A sweeping epic returns told as never before.
Abandon not your way with children of Ivalice.
It's Tactics! Oh my god! It's Final Fantasy Tactics!
No salvation.
They have Creative Studio 3 on this? Dude, the Tactics remake is actually real?
Why walk this path of subterfuge and conflict?
It looks like more like a remaster than a remake, but...
It is our duty. Heaven!
Actually bringing Tactics back in the year of our Lord 2025. Never thought I'd live to see the day. The Ivalice Chronicles. Let's go.
Do you remember?
Yeah, we'll be playing this.
Showed us how to make a whistle of a blade of grass.
How did they stray apart? It's actually happening. Wow, it looks so similar. There's some obvious differences, but they kept the art style very similar to it. So September 30th. Nice. Dude, Tactics actually coming back is crazy.
Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles. The game will include 2 versions of the original PlayStation Classic.
Okay.
The enhanced version, which features improved graphics, fully voiced dialogue, refined gameplay, and much more, as well as the classic version, which brings a faithful recreation of the...
Oh, so you can play the original or like the remaster thing they did. I always like it when games include that. Good God, they actually managed to do it. They made an entire game based on the Raid series from Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood. I never thought I'd live to see the day. Yeah, I'm sure no one's made that joke before. Well, hello everyone. I am Jmulls, and we have some incredible Final Fantasy news. They're actually bringing Tactics back. One of the most beloved but cult classic Final Fantasy games, Final Fantasy Tactics, as you could probably guess and put together because of the beginning of this video with my reaction, is being brought back entitled Final Fantasy Tactics, The Ivalice Chronicles. Originally coming out in 1997 in Japan and 1998 for North America, thank you Wikipedia, despite being a spin-off, not a mainline Final Fantasy game, Tactics accrued a cult following of people that absolutely loved its strategic combat and also its narrative. And it's one of the Final Fantasy games that has always eluded me, but every time I have access to the world of Ivalice, the world that Tactics takes place in, I absolutely love it there. I may not be a big fan of Final Fantasy XII as a game, but the setting, that's not the main reason. I loved Ivalice there. And I also heavily enjoyed the Raid series in Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood, centered around Ivalice. Maybe I can finally understand what that raid was all about, considering how many Final Fantasy Tactics references they made in that story. But this game has been really requested by the people that love Tactics for the longest time. But it's also one of those games that people just didn't think we'd ever see again. So it's really cool to see them actually go back to Tactics and bring it into the modern day, while trying to retain that original art style and feel from the PS1 era into the modern day. It is interesting that Creative Studio 3 is the one leading the charge for Tactics. For those who don't know, that's Yoshi P's studio for Square Enix. They did Final Fantasy XVI and Final Fantasy XIV, though I don't know who specifically within that studio was charged with this. However, I know that one of the most beloved elements of Final Fantasy Tactics is the story and the cast of characters. And they actually posted an introduction to the story, so I think it'd be pretty cool to read it right here and to get introduced to Final Fantasy Tactics, because I fully intend on playing this. Final Fantasy Tactics The Ivalice Chronicles, a story familiar to all who dwell within our land. Introduction. Ivalice, a kingdom blessed by the light of the gods and ruled by the two-headed lion. A year after her defeat to Ordalia in the 50 Years' War, the king succumbed to malady, leaving a mere boy of 2 to ascend the throne. Whoever was named regent would rule in truth, and thus emerged 2 rival candidates, Dukes Goltana and Log, whose deeds during the war had earned them great renown. Goltana, the Black Lion, and Log, the White Lion, were destined to clash, and the resulting conflict would come to be known as the War of the Lions. Against this backdrop appear Ramza, third son of House Bolf? Let's go with that. One of Ivalice's leading military families, and his childhood companion, Delita, a commoner raised amongst nobles. As they endeavor to chart a course through this tumultuous age, a mighty current draws them ever closer to the abyss. One of the things I am really happy to see when it comes to tactics is the fact that it's multi-platform. Again, going back to Square Enix's recent push, Ignore Bravely Default, of enacting a multi-platform strategy when it comes to its game releases. Final Fantasy Tactics The Ivalice Chronicles will be coming out for the Nintendo Switch 2, the OG Nintendo Switch, the PS5 and 4, the Xbox Series X and S, though weirdly enough, not the Xbox One, and also Steam. I personally will almost certainly be playing this on PC, and I can only imagine how cool the mod scene with this game could eventually become. Now, as someone who is not a traditional fan of Final Fantasy Tactics, I didn't grow up with this game, I have never even played this game myself, there was a part of me that, when I initially saw the trailer, kind of hoped there would be more of a graphical overhaul compared to the PS1 days. However, the more that I think on it and the more that I watch it, I'm kind of glad they went the route they did, because a lot of the times I tend to find when it comes to taking a game from older hardware and bringing it into the modern day, a lot of the time the artistic style of the original is lost, all in the service of higher fidelity or making it look more realistic, and that original artistic charm that the game or series used to have can be essentially neutered. One of my favorite examples for this is Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, where if you play that game in the original style and then the Anniversary style, the game entirely butchers the horror atmosphere a lot of those levels is trying to have and instill in the player. And while what they call the enhanced version doesn't necessarily stick with the idea of being one for one entirely, it does bring some better textures, while still retaining that look and feel of a PS1 game. And I think there is something to be said there. The more that I look at this game, the more I am really appreciating its overall art style and kind of want to dive into it myself. And I love the fact that both versions are included. This is one of my favorite things that game companies sometimes do when it comes to a remaster or bringing back an older game, is giving you the access or the ability to play the game with the new graphics or play the original version. And in one of the blurbs at the end of the trailer, they even talk about some of the changes between Classic and Enhanced. For the Enhanced version, the UI is different, there's what they call extensive additions and adjustments to the story, while also having fully voiced dialogue and apparently even more. Whereas the Classic version has, well, the classic graphics but also the gameplay, with what is known as the renowned War of the Lions translation. I'll leave it to Final Fantasy Tactics superfans to really talk about which translation is supposedly the best, but I will say I quite like the look of the enhanced version and also classic. Though I'm gonna be a little bit nitpicky here, I do kind of prefer the big 9 in the classic version compared to the enhanced version. It looks more stylized, if that makes sense. It's bigger and bolder and has more personality, and I think it just fits more than the more modern looking 9 they have. Again, that's like the ultimate nitpicks here, it's not that big of a deal, just, I like looking at these kind of comparisons. I think it's interesting to see what they wanted to change and what they wanted to keep largely the same. Luckily, we don't have to wait that long to actually play this. It's coming out on September 30th, and this has been a game that I always wanted to play and experience for myself if they ever brought it back, and well, they're doing it, so I guess I'll see you there on the 30th. Leave a comment down below with if you are excited for Final Fantasy Tactics The Ivalice Chronicles. What concerns do you have? What are you particularly excited about? What's your favorite part of Tactics? And if you have not played Tactics like me, do you want to play it? Are you excited for it? Let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions and hear your perspectives. Stay safe, have a great day, go play some video games, leave a like and subscribe if you liked the video and you want to see more content. I know I would appreciate it. And you know I'll be there for whenever there's more Final Fantasy news. Both Final Fantasy XIV and the single-player games. Thank you all for tuning in, stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again!